Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you another Pokemon that we need to be taking a closer look at now that Burning Shadows is coming out. It's Tapu Koko, a Pokemon that's seen a little bit of play. People have been experimenting around with him, but he's not been seeing that much love in terms of strong competitive results. Could that all be about to change? Well, we've got Tapu Koko GX, 170 HP is on the low side, but there is no weakness for Tapu Koko GX. Just like Tapu Bulu and Tapu Lele that are seeing a huge amount of play, are benefiting from the lack of weakness, so is Tapu Koko. The retreat cost of 2 is essentially irrelevant, as we'll see in a minute. Now, what we love about Tapu Koko is the ability Aero Trail. This ability that we've seen time and time again with Machamp and Dragonite and all sorts. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of lightning energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon, and then switch Tapu Koko into the active. As a side note, I know it's rotated out of standard, but if you're playing an expanded, flash energy will count here, because when it's attached, it is a lightning energy. But like I've said, that's expanded only. So the theory here is very simple. Try and avoid one-hit KOs so that you can be healing Tapu Koko and never actually getting knocked out, using the ability to get more Tapu Kokos. Now, we've had Max Potion for a while, and why has Max Potion not been great for Tapu Koko? Very simply because, although it'll heal, so you've got one Tapu Koko, gets damaged, another one goes down, switches in the active, takes the energy, you can Max Potion the bench Tapu Koko, but then it's just sitting on your bench, and it takes too long to get the energy onto him. But nowadays, coming in Burning Shadows, we have 2 cards which are going to help alleviate this problem. We are getting a reprint of Super Scoop Up, and we are getting our first printing of Acerola, a new supporter card that allows you to pick up one of your damaged Pokemon and all cards attached to it. So the theory here is so much better than it was with Max Potion. Tapu Koko gets damaged, you put a new one down, move the energy switch into the active, and rather than using Max Potion on the benched Koko and leaving one with no energy, you pick it up using Super Scoop Up or Acerola, and then when your new Tapu Koko gets damaged, you put down your old Tapu Koko, switch in the active, take the energy, and what you do here is you cycle Tapu Kokos. Every time they get damaged, you put a new one down and Super Scoop Up or Acerola the old one, ready to use again. And if your opponent isn't getting a one-hit KO, you essentially never get KO'd here. And as we're tanking with Tapu Koko, there are a couple of other cards you can use. Now, I know we're all huge fans of Choice Band. Choice Band is the tool of choice. Get it? In pretty much every deck at the moment, but this is one of the few where you really want to be considering playing Fighting Fury Belt, because if you can have 210 HP with no weakness, not everything's going to KO you here. Now, don't get me wrong, something like a Turtonator using Volcanion EX's Steam Up can. Something like a Tapu Bulu with a Choice Band can hit 210 and get the KO. But Metagross isn't going to KO you here. Of course, you're not going to KO them, so you're going to be in a little bit of a stalemate. Something like Alola Ninetales is going to not be able to KO you unless they get a Choice Band and a Professor Kukui, which is doable, but not every turn. And then, of course, you can bring in Aether Paradise Conservation Area. Now, to be fair, this is one of those supporters like Altar of the Sun that's not seeing much play because it's in your opponent's control. So if we take something like Altar of the Moon, I put it down, I immediately retreat, I decide if that stadium is useful. Whereas Aether Paradise Conservation, I put it down, but it's my opponent who attacks when it's out. So my opponent decides if it's still there, they can always replace it with a counter stadium, and then go ahead and hit me. But this gives Tapu Koko an effective HP of 240. That's stage 2 GX territory. And if we take something like Vikavolt Tapu Bulu, that deck generally doesn't play stadiums, and Tapu Bulu can only do 210 damage, so they're getting a nice, big nothing. They're not getting a KO on you. They're doing 210. You've effectively got 240 if they don't play a counter stadium, unless they can get a field blower to get rid of your Fighting Fury belt. They aren't getting a KO. And this, of course, is why I mentioned that the retreat cost of 2 was irrelevant, because between Super Scoop Up, Acerola, and switching in with your new Tapu Koko, you shouldn't ever be retreating with Tapu Koko. This all sounds good. Tapu Koko is ready to tank, there is no doubt about that. Between Fighting Fury Bout, Ether Paradise Conservation Area, and yes, I know Field Blower and Counter Stadiums are a thing, but they ain't going to have them every turn. Along with Super Scoop Up and Acerola, it really is great tanking for Tapu Koko. The problem is, I'm worried about the damage output. So although once you get free energy on the field, you are golden, you've got to get free energy on the field. Now, there is the new Raikou coming out in Shining Legends, which has got the same attack as Baby Yveltal. Hey, Nick. We've got the Electrode from Evolutions, but to use it gives up a prize. Although, to be fair, if you only give up one non-EX prize, you can play the 7-prize game. Give up one non-EX, only ever put EXs down, so your opponent has still got to KO 3 Xs to win the game, or GXs. KOing that single prize Pokemon actually gets them no closer to winning. But even then, it's a special energy and it's vulnerable to stuff like Enhanced Hammer. You could use Max Elixir here, because there's no double colourless here. It's Lightning, Lightning, colourless. So you could use Max Elixir to try and get the energy onto Tapu Koko. But then, of course, if you get a big one-hit KO against you with Koko here, then you really are in trouble, because getting all 3 of those energy back is an issue. It takes a while, and you have no other attacks. You've only got those 2 free energy attacks. Now, in terms of the attacks, they are not bad at all. The GX attack I am particularly fond of here, 50 damage times the amount of energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon. As soon as they've got kind of 4 energy on all of their Pokemon combined, you are rolling through, but it's a once per game attack. Otherwise, 130. Even with a Choice Band, it only goes up to 160, which is not getting one-hit KOs on basic EXs or GXs. And like I've said, Tapu Koko here really is a tanky Pokemon. So I, for one, would be more inclined to use Fighting Fury Bout here than I would for Choice Band. And this, I think, is a fundamental problem with using Tapu Koko GX. You are tanking, so you're not being one-hit KO'd. But you similarly are not one-hit KOing. Now, you take this against something like Garbodor, for instance. You can 2-hit KO a Drampa or an Espeon. That's not a huge problem. They shouldn't be one-hit KOing you with the Fighting Fury Bout in the stadium, at least. And the 130 does get a nice one-hit KO on Garbodor. If you keep the number of items in your discard down, you should be able to get the win here. Yay! The problem is, you take a deck like Metagross that you won't be able to one-hit KO, and you're just trading 2-hit KOs. Maybe you've got Super Scoop Up and Acerola, but Metagross has got Max Potion, and they can recover their energy very nicely with their ability. I think there is a lot of potential here, but one of the issues is you're going to be 2-hit KOing. And if you can get a Super Scoop Up or an Acerola every single turn, then you should be absolutely fine. But you might be slow getting the energy out. Super Scoop Up is a flippy card, and Acerola is a supporter. So if you're using Acerola every turn, you're not playing something like N or Professor Sycamore to allow you to draw extra cards. Now, of course, anytime you want to do a little bit of extra damage, one of the best options we have right now is Tapu Koko, by which I mean the promo non-GX Tapu Koko. You just sit there spreading 20 damage per turn, and after a couple of turns you can then bring in Tapu Koko, and now you're doing 130 damage per turn, but to Pokemon that already have 60 to 80 damage on them, and then you are just going away, doing 130, and in theory getting rid of Tapu Koko every single turn. And you could even play some Max Potion here, so that if you're not able to Super Scoop up or Acerola this turn, you can still get rid of all the damage. There is potential here. I worry about the time it's going to take to get the energy on there. I think Max Elixir is a must. And I worry about decks that can one-hit KO you, or that can heal while you're not one-hit KOing. But this is definitely a deck that you want to be looking at more closely now Burning Shadows is coming out. And it's a fairly straightforward linear deck. It is Sky High Claws every turn, drop a new Tapu Koko every time you're about to be KO'd, and then you Super Scoop up or Acerola to take it off the field once you have gotten rid of all of its energy. Of course, the other thing we need to mention here is that being an ability on a basic, even though Hex Maniac and Silent Lab are rotating out, we're still going to have both Garbodor and Alolan Muck, which will turn off the ability on Tapu Koko here. So I mentioned earlier how it might have quite a good matchup against Garbodor, and it might. But if you've got the ability lock Garbodor turning off all your abilities, and you can Aero Trail, that is going to swing the matchup away from you. There was one final side note here, the non-GX Tapu Koko, really quite good about the free retreat, so you can start going with the GX whenever you like. I'm not ready to sit here and say, this deck is amazing, like I did against Turtonator, because I think it is. What I am saying is test with and test against this deck, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you've got a card, a deck, that is doing 130 damage every turn, and you can't get a one-hit KO, and you can't get a two-hit KO because they're always healing, well, that's a deck you need to be prepared for. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Stick a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this deck. Do you think it has any potential? I've seen people playing it. People have asked me to talk about it. You're welcome. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio for some live action. And if you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, jump the queue to play me on stream, get some custom voicemails, etc., then you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, like these lovely people, who are wonderful. The most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.